Hi, I'm Lisa Prather, and welcome to The Voice of Health with our host, Dr. Robert Prather of the Prather Practice, where lives are changed every day through the natural approach to healthcare. Today we're talking about the secrets of staying young, the science of healthy aging. You're going to tell us some secrets, huh, Dr. Prather?
I'm going to tell you some secrets on
Why
how to live
secrets? Long. If you're going to tell us.
Well, they're not secrets anymore.
The soon to not be secrets.
Soon not to be secrets
Okay.
of age.
All right. Well, how long should we live? You talk about that a lot.
Well, the science behind that, the longest lived person that's confirmed was 122 years. And that is very possible for everyone. You know, if we do the right things, live right, 122 years, living to be 120 is well within our grasp.
Is that just, what does that person look like?
Well, that's a really good question. People always say, I don't want to live to be 120. That's not really, a good thing. But if the French woman who lived to be 122, just to let you know, the week before she died, she would bike 5 miles a day. She did all of her own gardening, ate most of the produce that she produced, and was very active. Only had a week that she was down just before she died.
Wow.
So if you look at something like that, it's like,
if you're active.
She liked music, she liked to go to concerts, she liked to dance, and really a very
She didn't work out at the gym?
No, she did not work out at the gym. She never did work out at the gym. But she, the whole thing that's very interesting is people sit there and say, oh, you get old. But some people who live past the age of 90 have very few illnesses and have very few disabilities. In other words, it's surprising that as scientists have looked at people who age, the longer they live, it seems that they kind of get out of that whole infirmity type of thing. So a lot of people who are 90s are more active than the majority of people in their 70s.
They made it that far. So,
yeah,
right?
they seem to have made it that far, have kind of overcome a lot of the disabilities and the other things that seem to, really bother the average person. Matter of fact, men, especially, who live into their 90s are surprisingly active, healthy, very competent, usually don't have a lot. They also don't seem to develop a lot of the dementias and other different types of things that they had in their 70s and 80s.
Interesting.
So,
what about women?
Women women live longer than men, but women don't seem to have in other words, men on their activity and mental clarity in their 90s have a higher percentage of doing really, really well, but there's less of them.
Okay.
So that might be it, kind of like the strong survive. But it's a different type, because one of the things they said is, a lot of people are starting to get into that centenary, getting in that 100 years. And they were worried that these people would require a lot of care, a lot of extra type of expenses, and surprisingly, that hasn't really been borne out.
Interesting.
It seems to be where most of the people wind up in the nursing homes, they wind up there in their 70s and 80s. But the ones who actually live into their 90s and hundreds aren't in the nursing homes. Do you know what I mean?
Interesting. They're riding their bikes 5 miles
Oh,
to their own comfort.
yeah, I know.
Till a week before they die.
That's a good way to go.
That's a great way to go.
And living to be 120, who would have thought?
So what is the average lifespan right now?
Well, in the United States, for men, it's about 77.4 years. Exactly. And for females, it's 82.2. Is the average lifespan. Now, Japan is the number one long-lived country.
Oh, really? I wouldn't have thought of that. Okay.
Yeah, they have a
Japan.
Japan Andorra is number 2. You know what, right? With
Right. Geography.
That's in the mountains up in the between Spain and France.
Okay.
And then Iceland is also very high. So there's
I
a
wouldn't
lot
want
of
to live in
countries.
Iceland. But
Right.
I heard it's beautiful.
Yeah. But in Japan, the men live to be about age 85 and the women about 87.3.
And this is average lifespan.
Average lifespan, what's expected. Which is
Interesting.
pretty good.
Well, I'm proud of my dad. He's already past that. He's going to be 80,
80,
right? He's going to
right.
he's taking the whole family. We're going on an Alaskan cruise to
Yeah,
celebrate
he's probably
his 80.
going to be one of these guys who, is very active even in his 90s.
Not on any medications.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what you're looking for. You see a pattern in people's lives, and once they can kind of hit that, then they keep going.
Yeah. So what was the average lifespan in the 1900s?
1900s in America, it was about 50 years old.
Wow.
That was the average lifespan that you could expect to live. Now, one of the things that really brings it down is about 25% of all babies died between
25%.
before the age of 5. So that really brought the average lifespan down. They're probably the most primitive tribe, hunter-gatherers in Africa, have found that it's a lot of them actually do live into their 80s, but still the lifespan is only about 40 years old. Do you know what I mean? Because they have so many that die younger. Infections take quite a few. There's a lot of things that kind of play into that.
So what has accounted for our increased lifespan?
Well, one of the things is infant mortality. We just don't have the same infant mortality. There's been advances in medical procedures. The advent of antibiotics made a big difference. IVs. One of the things that used to kill, that still do in a lot of countries that kills children is diarrhea. So what they do is they get some type of parasite, they get some type of food poisoning, something along those lines that produces diarrhea, and then they just, it's dehydration that occurs. So having IVs really made a big difference. You just stick an IV and baby's right back to, get the fluids back in them, is a big type of thing. Also sanitation. Our sanitary system is so much better than what it used to be that we can really avoid. That. Yeah, we don't have the sanitation issues. Also, if you look at our food supply, it's so much better. People didn't used to have fresh vegetables and fresh fruits all year long. So there was a lot of nutritional deficiencies that would occur. So you have some better medical procedures, that really keep a lot of the deaths under control. We have better sanitation, and we have better nutrition. And those three things are the three main pillars of making the difference that we have made.
So will we keep getting a longer lifespan? Well,
That's the big question. What is it going to look like for people? Are we just going to keep on getting older and older? Have we kind of reached the maximum on where people are going to be? And there's a lot of debate between scientists on which way it's going to go, and it's kind of up to us. We have all those different types of things that we've implemented, but there's a lot of things that are becoming a major problem. One, we have kind of outlived our antibiotic use. Antibiotics have, unless we find some new ones, we no longer have that availability that has really made a big difference in people's, on longevity that used to kill kids and stuff. So are we going to be able to keep the infectious rate under control? The other things is that we now have an obesity epidemic, and that has already made a very big impact on people's longevity. We might have the first generation that doesn't live as long as the generation before. One of them in America, and one of the major issues is obesity. Wow. So, we are getting a tremendous amount of information, a lot of scientific breakthroughs, a lot of knowledge on how to extend life. It's whether we utilize them. How does this get transferred to the public? And so we are really in charge of our destiny. And we have a lot of positive things, but we also have a lot of negative things, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
Now, I've heard about the different blue zones in the world.
Yes.
Explain that, the blue zones.
Well, blue zones are areas where people at a very high percentage live to be into their hundreds. And there has been a tremendous people who study aging, gerontologists love to go to those areas and figure out what it is that the high percentage of people who live into their hundreds. And there is a definite pattern on each group. It's not really a genetic type of thing, but it's how they live. One, it's a lower stress, high social support, respect for the aging, a very high nutritious diet, with high quality foods, a lot of exercise, but not over-exercise. Do you know what I mean? So it's a very balanced type of life, and it's as much an attitude as it is even on firm types of things. But when people move out of those zones and they get into modern culture, the people just live the average length of life. So it's not really the genetics in there. Or even the area. It's the attitude, it's the diet, and the exercise seems to play the biggest role.
Is there any blue zones here in the United States?
There aren't any blue zones in the United States.
Italy?
Italy, absolutely. Italy
yeah?
is one of the longest-lived countries. In Sardinia, that's one of the blue zones right in there.
And then Japan, that one.
Japan, there's in some of the islands in Japan, they have blue zones. There is in South America, there's a blue zone. In the Caucasus Mountains.
And when you think about all those areas,
right,
a lot of people are walking.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's one of the biggest things. Is
terrain,
a lot of aerobic
terrain.
Exercise, a lot of gardening. One of the things that's always found is a high respect for the elders. The elders have like a special place. If you feel special, you feel like sticking around.
Interesting.
If you're kind of regulated to, a nursing home, well, why stick around?
Yeah.
You've
lost your purpose.
Lost your purpose.
Oh, interesting. Well, we're talking about the secrets of staying young, the science of healthy aging. You can win a free 60-minute massage in a relaxing spa at the Prather practice. Each month we have a drawing to give away a free massage to one of our lucky Facebook and Twitter fans. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter on our website at thevoiceofhealthradio.com. This is The Voice of Health with Dr. Robert Prather. The Voice of Health Wellness Tip with Dr. Robert Prather of the Prather practice. What conditions can be helped with acupuncture?
Well, of course, the sinusitis, tinnitus. We've had some very severe cases of that came in and had some excellent results. Toothache is excellent. PMS, menopausal symptoms. I have many women who are coming in saying, I've heard that it's excellent for hot flashes. Did some acupuncture, and they said, wow, I'm sold. Just because of the changes that occur with that. Headaches, migraines, acupuncture is an excellent adjunctive to that. Parkinson's disease. I have patients who are coming in with Parkinson's.
Oh, yes.
And actually getting some very excellent results.
You can see their gait gets better.
Sure. There are certain points that we do that are specifically have been shown to be very effective for Parkinson's. I know the National Institute of Health is doing some research on that right now with some very excellent results. I've gotten the points from their research that they've done, started to implement them, and I have definitely found that that's been extremely helpful. Stroke, post-stroke, we can get some very good results on that. Cancer patients. A very interesting study that they did on people who were going through chemo radiation, that they had 80% fewer complaints if they were doing acupuncture. So
when they were going through the
when they were
cancer
going
treatment.
through it. Also afterwards, there are problems with the nervous system afterwards. All addictions, cigarette smoking, we have a lot of people coming in for that, but acupuncture, specifically working on also some ear points along with that, along with the needle points on the body, actually can have some very, very significant improvement on really almost any addiction. I have a patient who came in just to try acupuncture, was actually in law school, and a lot of stress, a lot of things involved with that. And he just keeps on coming in because he says, I do so much better in school. I'm able to concentrate better, I'm able to relax, it just makes such a difference. There was a gal, whenever she was going through the whole CPA program to get certified, and every time she takes tests, she comes in for acupuncture.
Before the test, or after?
She says it's better than Valium, just to, kind of keep everything nice and calm, and I can think great.
Schedule your appointment at the Prather Practice, 317-848-8048. That's 317-848-8048. Or learn more on our website at thevoiceofhealthradio.com. The Prather Practice, restoring hope.
And I'm feeling good.
You're listening to The Voice of Health with Dr. Robert Prather of the Prather Practice, the most comprehensive wellness center in the Midwest. We're talking today about the secrets of staying young, the science of healthy aging. And we're not keeping them as secrets, right?
We're trying to let everybody know. Delving into the secrets.
For ourselves, too. Well, Dr. Prather, why do we physically die?
Well, that's one of the things that they asked, why don't we just live forever? Mm-hmm. And they're looking at the science of that on what's involved. And one of the things is when there are certain types of cells that have the capability of living forever. And we look at death more on a cellular level than on a personal level, if you want to understand the science of it. And when our cells, the more specialized you are, there is only so many times that your cells can reproduce till things start to break down.
Okay.
So when you specialize, there are cells that are immortal. They're called germ cells. And the reason that they are immortal is because they are able to repair so easily and quickly and reproduce in a certain way. The germ cells that we have are sex cells, the sperm in the male and the eggs in the female. Mm-hmm. And those could be actually immortal, but
Ew, germs.
Yeah. But they do kind of pass on from generation to generation. So they do live inside of us. And so the idea in our plan of longevity is to reproduce children. Okay? Mm-hmm. And that's where we kind of live on in. But they call the body sort of the disposable soma, the disposable body. It's a big scientific type of workup if you're looking into longevity studies. But basically, our bodies are not designed to have the capability to keep on living forever. Mm-hmm. Now, can we play with it eventually and get that down? That's a possibility. Mm-hmm. Certainly, we can play with that and get some amazing extension of life. They've been able to work with animals and do experiments. And it would be like taking, one of the things that they found is that they can take animals, and for, like us, if you do the right things, you can extend life out to, if it would be human years, 160 years on a regular basis. If you do all the right things.
Right.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So they've proven that men and women can live to be 160. With animals. They haven't done the experiments on humans, which wouldn't be ethical.
Right.
But they have proven that they can extend out life. But there is, at this point, a cellular incapability of reproducing. Because every 7 years we remake our body.
Our cells.
Our cells. Our cells are all replaced. But there comes a point where, they're not able to do that. And there's a lot of influences on that, on why that occurs. And if you cut down on those influences, then the cells can actually last longer.
Interesting. What were you telling me about jellyfish?
Oh, yes.
It was interesting.
Now, one of the things that's interesting is there are creatures that are immortal. Mm-hmm. If they're not killed and eaten or, other different types of things.
In a car accident.
Yeah, in a car accident. Then they keep on going. Uh-huh. And two of the examples are a jellyfish and a hydra. And one of the things is, why are they immortal and we not? Well, they are interlaced with germ cells throughout their entire body. Mm-hmm. But they're not specialized.
Okay.
So they can, you can even cut off a piece of the hydra and it'll grow back, or you can even break it apart and it can regenerate. Back into a hydra. Mm-hmm. But they are full of germ cells that are capable of doing that. They're in the sea. So, they can actually live longer. Now, the oldest living creature that actually does is bristlecone pines, and they live to be, the oldest one that has been recorded is 4,700 years old.
Well, no one's going to mess with them.
A bristlecone pine, it sounds like it can really handle itself well, huh? But, other creatures actually live a very long time.
There's a certain lobster that lives...
Well, lobsters can live... Yeah, they live to be 170 years old is the oldest lobster that they have. Koi fish, those little fun fish.
The orange and white ones?
Yeah, the orange and white ones that, the Japanese. They live to be 200 years old.
Wow. So when we're looking in those ponds and
they could live to be 200 years old, which is interesting, isn't it? Uh-huh. You wouldn't think a fish would be living 200 years. Mm-hmm. But, they have that kind of they have a good lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of, they kind of, you see how they kind of go around lazily. And, but sea urchins, they can live over 200 years. Bowhead whales live to be about 130 years old.
Wow.
So a lot of creatures can live quite a long time. Now, humans, of course, we have the maximum at 122. Eastern box turtles live to be 80 years old. So, there's a lot of interesting types of things, and it's really fun to study the whole aging of different animals and what kind of influence it has, and it's a good way to kind of study. That's one of the things that the Japanese did. They really revered aging, and so that's why they would keep the koi fish. Because they would...
because I think of koi fish in Japan.
Right. And they felt that if they had them in the ponds and they were around them... Have you ever been around them? There's kind of this relaxing feeling. And they feel that those fish actually put off a kind of relaxation energy. And if you grow them, and it helps you to live longer.
So let's go get a whale. What kind of whale?
Well, actually, koi
a turtle,
fish,
a lobster, and a
koi fish actually live longer than whales.
Okay. Could we ever become immortal? And I'm saying this because we believe spiritually, too, that we can. Our physical bodies are no more.
Right.
But...
can we actually physically become immortal someday?
Yeah, we're talking about physical, yes.
That's a very big debate. There are quite a few people that are studying the science of immortality. And there are people who are scientists, very reputable ones, who say that they feel that they are heading in that direction on how to be able to work on the cellular level so that the human body would never die. There are other scientists who say that's a bunch of boldoinky. That that's not ever going to happen because of the limitations that the cellular body has. So, it's a debatable type of thing, and is it a possibility? Possibly. Are we there yet? No. But can we do some really great things on extension? Yes. The possibilities, if you really get down to it and study with modern science and all the availability of different types of aspects, we can really do some amazing things with life extension, and also adding vitality into our life as we get older if we really pay some attention to it and do the right things in the meantime. It's an investment.
Right. Well, who wants to live to 120? Couldn't that be a burden?
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. I sit there and I tell people, if you do these things, you can really live a lot longer. And they say, well, why would I want to do that? Because they say, I've seen old people and that doesn't look like a whole lot of fun. But that's not really the truth. There's reasons why people are infirm. There are lifestyle choices that we've made, and we can have a big influence on that. And it's just like that French lady who lived to be 122. She was darn active. She, they asked her, do you regret? She said, "Are you kidding me?" These are the best. Longer. Yeah, she says the last. Life didn't begin until I was 100.
Well, you think about in the Old Testament times how long people lived before the flood.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, right?
On the biblical types of things.
Yeah. Was it 800 years?
Who's the oldest? Methuselah. Lived to be 1,000 years old.
Wow. Yeah.
So, but we haven't proven that scientifically yet.
Yeah, but they had longevity.
Yeah, I know.
Well, why do women live longer than men? Ha, 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 ha.
Yeah, on average, they live about 5 years longer.
Why is that?
Well,
can I guess?
You tell me why.
Well, the sense of community. We're good at that in relationships. We need people.
Yeah.
I might be generalizing, but...
Well, interestingly enough, one of the things that they scientifically that reduces the man's longevity is all their testosterone. They have found that eunuchs, that there were, they've done the experiments with animals, things like that, because there is also a difference between, in animals, between longevity of males and females. Females live longer. But if they remove the testosterone influence, they live just the same as women do. So testosterone causes all sorts of weird behavior.
Too much of it?
Well,
or imbalance, what?
It changes how the body works. The body kind of revs itself up. You oftentimes sit there and sigh and wonder what's wrong with me. And, honey, it's just testosterone. But you know what? I don't want to give it up. Especially just for longevity. I like what testosterone. No, that is not of interest to me, but that does make an influence. But testosterone is kind of the culprit in a lot of things, isn't it?
Right. All right. Well, we're talking today about time for a break. Secrets of staying young, the science of healthy aging. Listen to the Voice of Health radio on your smartphone or tablet on all of the top radio apps available. TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. You can find these apps and more on our website at thevoiceofhealthradio.com. This is The Voice of Health with Dr. Robert Prather. Laughter is the best medicine.
I went to the doctor. She goes, "Did you know you're allergic to wheat?" I did not know that. She said, "Do you eat a lot of gluten?" I don't know what gluten is, but yes, I would say yes. I think I'm mostly gluten, to be honest with you. I don't know. And she gave me a book of things that have gluten in it. You know what has gluten in it? Everything! I said, check again. Maybe it's just cancer. I didn't take it well. Have you tried gluten-free stuff? It needs gluten.
Are you frustrated by not getting to the root cause of your health issue? Are you tired of not knowing why you're always fatigued? Are you wanting to say no to toxic drugs? Have you lost hope? Are you just tired of being sick and tired? At the Prather Practice, we want you to know that we have the answers for you. We offer the alternative to the disease care model. We are the drug-free model to health and wellness. At the Prather Practice, we look for the underlying cause of your health problem and not just the symptomatology. Through thorough diagnostics, we find your individual health blueprint for your treatment. Where the disease care model is symptom-based, the structure-function model we practice gets to the root of your health issue. The Prather practice is the most comprehensive wellness center in the Midwest. Our integrated practice offers you the most treatment options to restore your health and your hope. Learn more about the Prather practice by calling 317-848-8048 or learn more on our website at thevoiceofhealthradio.com. Secrets of Staying Young, the Science of Healthy Aging. And Dr. Prather, let's talk about different strategies now. What role does diet play in longevity?
Diet's one of the most important things. Matter of fact, as they've been doing scientific research, they found that diet is one of the critical areas for longevity. So as they've been doing the experiments, their best results have been through changing diet. Also, as you're looking at the blue zones, diet was absolutely critical, for the longevity issue. So, as we evaluate, as we look at ourselves and looked for what's going to be our healthiest aging and give us the most years in our life and life in our years, is diet. So, really looking at that's absolutely critical.
Staying away from the MSGs, the trans fats.
Well, it's one of the things in the blue zones is that they had no chemicals in their foods. And as you add chemicals into the foods, that creates a lot of inflammation, a lot of stress. And as you're talking about aging, what you really get down to the cellular level is really where aging occurs. It's on a cell-by-cell basis. And the more stress that you put on a cell, the more it ages quickly. The less it's able to reproduce, the more stress is on it. It tries to recoup, and the less stress that you have on those cells, the better the cells do. So chemicals are one of the worst possible things that you can do. So trying to have a real natural environment. Yes.
Stay in that perimeter of the store, and you'll save a lot of money.
Yeah, it does make a big difference. We do so much according to a convenience type of thing that we really kill ourselves. It's just like when we went into our vet, who's a very good vet, and they were talking about the new dog we had, and they were talking about diet and how important diet is for the longevity of the dog. And they said, whatever you do, don't feed them human food because they'll die quick.
Wow.
But that's also true of us. If we eat a proper diet, if we get into the smart things along the dietary type of lines, that will make an absolute huge difference on how we do.
Yeah, it's really interesting. We have a Whole Foods near us that's been here, and we've gone for a long time, and it is getting busier and busier,
Sure.
which is exciting. The Fresh Time stores, the Earth Fair, we're seeing more of those type of grocery stores. Kroger is providing a lot of organic food, and
it also cuts down on obesity, cardiovascular, chances of cancer, all the different types of things that can kill us. Not only does it age us, but it also provides a lot of the means for diseases to occur and premature aging. So, and those are all big stressors on the body. So finding, getting that. One of the biggest stressors is inflammation.
Yes, inflammation. Let's talk about inflammation.
Sure.
What role does that play in aging?
That a lot of the science that's being done right now finds that inflammation is one of the biggest factors for cellular death and cellular aging. So the inflammatory process is very important. It's part of our immune system. And it's a very excellent survival type of strategy. It keeps us from getting infections. It keeps us from a lot of different types of problems. So it's a necessary type of process. But if we have continual inflammation, it does kill us and ages us much quicker.
And you can just see it in people, the inflammation.
Absolutely. Trying to keep the inflammation down, and diet is one of our major areas that we can get inflammation from. One of the things that has been found, and one of the strategies that we use for people on getting well, is a food rotation diet. One, keeping away from all the chemicals, because chemicals always kick up inflammation. So the more chemicals you have in your diet, the more likely you are to have inflammation. Just very well proven. The other thing is repeating foods on a regular basis. The inflammatory process when it comes to foods isn't the first time that you eat the food that you have the inflammation. It's the second time that you have the reactions. So if you have a program in your body that you can not repeat a food until the 5th day, you never have an inflammatory process.
Wow.
So one of the strategies that we have for diet is a food rotation diet where you don't repeat a food until the 5th day because the immunoglobulins that produce the inflammatory reaction only have a 4-day life cycle.
Is that proteins, carbs, everything?
Everything. Everything. So one of the things is our ancestors didn't have the luxury of really repeating foods. So our bodies haven't been designed to eat the same thing on a daily basis. We're more used to a rotation type of thing. So doing a food rotation diet is an excellent strategy for keeping the inflammation down.
Yeah, and we have helps here, for people.
Sure.
On the that food rotation.
Gut is absolutely huge. That's where a lot of inflammation occurs. So keeping
You're saying gut?
Gut, yeah. Keeping a good... the National Institute of Health is doing a tremendous amount of study right now on the gut and its influence on the immune system and the inflammatory process. And they're saying 80% of all inflammation in people comes from the gut. So you can influence by your diet and what you've got going on in your gut.
And it doesn't take too long to change.
It doesn't.
You could see changes within 48 hours, right? Is it possible?
People do. Most time, really, to get the full change, it takes about 5 days. Really to start to see things kind of settle down on the rotation diet. But you can start to see some really big changes on how you feel.
5 days, yeah.
Weight goes off. The inflammation goes down. Also, probiotics is important. You have good gut flora. That's absolutely important for your process. There's a lot of different types of factors that go into that, but it can make a world of difference if you really look at your diet, figure out how to get that up, and then following it closely with some lab tests. You can kind of know how to shift things. And is it working?
Yeah, I know. I've been trying to move my diet more to an alkaline instead of acidic.
Absolutely another strategy along those lines. We have way too many, most people are too acidic. There are some people who come into alkaline. It's the balance that you're actually looking for. But the vast majority of the American diet is very acidic, so if you can move more alkaline, then that gets you into a better balance.
And isn't there, when the pH is too acidic, it can cause the disease process?
It kicks up the inflammatory process. So again, we're getting into the whole inflammation.
Can a restricting calories help with aging?
Well, one of the interesting things on the process of the body, the more the higher the nutrient value in compared, the vitamins, minerals, to the actual calories burned, the healthier the individual, because you need the vitamins, minerals, fatty acids in a proper amount and a large amount to be able to burn the calories. So if you have what's considered empty food,
your refined sugars.
Because what's wrong with those is that they don't have a lot of vitamins and minerals in them. It's almost all pure calories. And if you have a whole lot of calories compared to your vitamins and minerals that are necessary to process the calories, then you're going to get inflammation and cellular damage. Because the process of what to work. So one of the things that the strategies that they did for the life extension and what really worked the best is a reduction of calories with a higher nutrient value really extends life. That's why you want organic food as compared to non-organic, because organic has a higher vitamin and mineral content as compared to the calories or the processed or chemicalized types of foods. They have a higher calorie to vitamin and mineral ratios. So the more that you can reduce your calories increase your vitamins and minerals, the less cellular damage that actually occurs.
And I think of greens, right?
Greens.
A lot of green
And then,
vegetables.
good quality soil that is grown out, not just commercialized farms. I mean, that's why I think that this lady that lived to be, a French lady that lived to be 122, she grew all of her own food in her own garden.
Yeah, my grandparents did.
Yeah, so I mean, it was fresh. It was a low calorie, high nutrient value to it. So that makes a big difference, and they found really as one of the best ways to get some changes on how long creatures live.
What about fasting?
Good question.
Detox.
Yeah, one of the things is that they when you're talking about having a real calorie restriction and stuff like that, it sounds really boring. But it makes a big difference in insulin levels, which has a lot to do with inflammation. But one of the things that they found is having like a fast on a regular basis. A day where you really cut down on your calories, or not eat at all, and see what kind of effect that does. And what that does is that allows the body to kind of shut down for a little while. The body's not processing a lot of those types of things, and then the body in a fast shifts into a mode of cellular repair.
Interesting. So how often? And you got to drink your water, though.
Yeah, drink
Very
water because
important.
you're doing a lot of detoxification on that type of thing. But one of the things that a very interesting study on reducing the inflammation in a body is they found that a weekly fast, one day where you have a real restricted calorie.
Interesting.
And then
Once a
really
week.
enjoy, like a once-a-week type of thing where you have the day where you kind of do a fast. It really cuts down on your inflammation, helps to balance out your insulin levels, and seems to have a lot of the effect of the calorie restriction, too. So it's another little strategy that can be done that can be extremely effective for cellular repair and extending longevity.
Well, I know with our weight loss people, if on the weight loss program, they plateau for 4 straight days,
Sure.
so their weight stays the same, we encourage them to do a 6-apple day from noon to noon the next day.
And what that does is it shuts down a lot of the inflammatory process, and the body goes into this whole repair cycle. It balances out the insulin. There's a lot of interesting physiological things that occur on that.
Okay.
And it's actually a really good idea.
All right, when we come back, we're going to talk more about the secrets of staying young, the science of healthy aging. Never miss an episode of The Voice of Health so that you can stay informed and empowered about your health. Get a podcast of our show automatically delivered to you every week by signing up for our show on iTunes. You can find that link on our website at thevoiceofhealthradio.com. And don't forget, thevoiceofhealthradio.com has complete archives of all of our past episodes with an audio library of information to help you add more life to your years and more years to your life. This is The Voice of Health with Dr. Robert Prather. The Voice of Health Wellness Tip with Dr. Robert Prather of the Prather Practice. What is ECP therapy?
ECP stands for External Counterpulsation Therapy. And just to put it into a nutshell, ECP is an aerobic exercise machine. Now, you sit there and say, well, why do you need an aerobic exercise machine? It is the number one treatment for cardiovascular disease. If you look at the research and want to find out, well, how do I fix my cardiovascular disease, whatever it might be, always within the scientific literature, aerobic exercise is one of the most proven, most effective means of reversing cardiovascular disease. So, but the problem is I have people who I sit there and I look at them and I say, well, what do I do about this problem that I have, Doc? And I said, well, go out and run 5 miles, every day. And of course they all laugh because it took every effort that they had from going to the waiting room into the exam room,
Right.
and they're out of breath. So that didn't work. So what was actually done was develop a machine that actually simulates the effects on the body of aerobic exercise, and that's where ECP comes in. And what occurs with ECP is that there's actually a second heart kind of put into the body. It's on the outside, but as the heart goes into relaxation, that's when it actually gets its blood. So what we do is we actually have blood pressure cuffs around the legs. It presses on the legs, and we get a huge amount of blood that goes back up to the heart. And the heart is very regenerative, and you get about 10 times as much oxygen with this particular type of treatment than what you normally would. And you get a regeneration of the heart. You also get a cleaning out of the arteries, and you actually get a huge amount of changes in the whole physiology of the body. So all the benefits of aerobic exercise are actually found in ECP, which are absolutely the number one way that you can be able to reverse cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and many other problems.
Schedule your appointment at the Prather Practice, 317-848-8048. That's 317-848-8048. Or learn more on our website at thevoiceofhealthradio.com. The Prather Practice, restoring hope. You're listening to The Voice of Health with Dr. Robert Prather of the Prather Practice, where our mission is restoring hope to our patients. We're talking today about the secrets of staying young, the science of healthy aging. And it's been very interesting, Dr. Prather. And let's talk about the different role exercise, relationships play. What role does exercise play in longevity?
Well, one of the things that I've said, and then also the recent research on aging, is exercise really makes up for a lot of sins. You know, you just can get so many different types of benefit from exercise with the skeletal structure, nervous system, even the physiology of the body works better if you exercise, because it's the more you use it, either use it or lose it. If you know what I mean. And exercise is a great way to do that.
Yeah, keep moving.
Keep moving. And they're not talking about real vigorous exercise, because people who are marathon runners and professional athletes actually don't have as long of a life span. So moderate aerobic exercise seems to have one of the best effects. In matter of fact, if you have a sedentary job where you sit 4 hours a day, if you don't have that 4 hours going on, you have a 50% less likelihood of a lot of the diseases that actually occur, and cuts down on and actually speeds up the aging process. So sitting at the desk is a really, really bad thing to do. That sedentary lifestyle really racks up the problems for the body, and can really speed up the whole aging process, the cell death. We weren't really made to sit around.
And it's interesting because you're seeing more standing desks where you can go back and forth from a sitting to a standing. And I have a lot of patients I recommend that for that have desk jobs. You know, and so a lot of times they'll do a lot of their work from standing.
Sure.
And it'll solve a lot of problems.
It's amazing how many calories are burned up just by standing. And it keeps the whole body going. You have to move the energy through the body. You have to get the circulation going. You can't let the lymphatic tissue back up. One of the longest-lived group of people are band leaders, symphony conductors or band leaders. And most of them live into their 90s and are extremely active and very vigorous at that point. And they were wondering what it was that they do. Well, every day they sit there and they're constantly moving.
They stand there.
They breathe.
Right.
They're very good breathers. They move their shoulders all the time, and they're always pumping their legs. That's a great lymphatic pump. So, one of the things that you can do is switch to be a symphony orchestra conductor.
Oh, sure.
As your job. And you will live a long life. But they're always moving. They're doing all the right things that encourage that.
And it doesn't take much time. People say, I don't have the time. 15, 20 minutes.
absolutely
You know,
makes a huge difference. And walking is the best exercise.
Yeah, getting a pedometer. I've been recommending MyFitnessPal. It's a free app.
Okay.
Keeps track of calories, keeps track of exercise, how much fat you're burning. And this morning it reminded me, you haven't put in your breakfast yet, you know?
Sure. It's like those blue areas. One of the things that those people always did is, well, they walked every place, first off.
Yeah.
Also, most of them were involved in an agrarian society where they were constantly, pruning trees or, picking fruit or different types of things along those lines. And that nice, even, steady type of exercise where they were constantly moving, constantly walking, not overtaxing, but that constant type of movement did wonders for them.
Yeah, we were just talking about what we do all day long. I'm very thankful that we're not sitting all day long. We're not sitting for long lengths of time, and we're moving and we're using our body. And yeah. Well, what about the role of relationships? How do they play in longevity?
Oh, a huge effect. That's also one of the major aspects that they found in the blue zones. And interestingly enough, the relationships has a great deal, but it's different for men and women. The thing that makes the biggest difference for a man is being married. Marriage will add 5 years to a man's life.
What does it do to the woman's?
Well, it makes him old and sick. I'm teasing. For the man's, it's interesting because it doesn't really matter if it's a good marriage or a bad marriage.
Wow.
Just being married makes a huge difference for men. Now, women are more dependent on whether it's a good marriage or a happy marriage or a bad marriage. A good marriage will make a bigger difference. A bad marriage, they don't live any longer because they're married. So, there's not a big difference on that. Where women get the most change on their longevity is their social relationships. In other words, a bigger group of people. Having that close family makes a very big difference. Having a lot of female friends makes a lot of difference for the length of life for a female. Men, it's basically, their wives that they're dependent upon. As a matter of fact, a very truism is if the wife dies first, most men only live 2 years. And both my grandparents died. My grandmothers died first, and my grandfathers joined them after 2 years.
And they were pretty healthy.
They were very healthy up until then. So men, we just don't do well without our wives. Well, you know that.
Well, let's talk about, we have a couple minutes, but what are the 8 pillars of health and how do they influence aging? And these are your 8 pillars that you've come up with.
And we've had several different radio programs on that, and the 8 pillars of perfect health, if you follow those, then that would make a huge difference, probably the biggest difference on one's aging and longevity. So really following those can make a big difference. Of course, we don't have time to go through them right now, but that is something that they can get on our podcasts and listen to, and that can give you a really
have time if you want to go ahead and list them.
Sure. The first one is energy flow, and that is what I feel is the number one type of thing, and that's the nervous system, lymphatic system, electromagnetic system, and that energy flow has a huge effect and can make an immediate difference as we're doing biological age testing. I've done different types of work on people, and we could see 20 years drop off of them if you were doing biological ages immediately that day.
Wow.
So energy flow is most essential. Oxygenation. You are as old as you are oxygenated. If you were perfectly oxygenated, you would look like you're 21 when you're 120. So really keeping up the oxygenation is absolutely
that
critical.
Deep breathing.
Deep breathing. Toxicity. Toxicity is what causes the cellular breakdown. Keeping the toxicity out of under control. Your water. Having enough water, having the right water, clean water. Also on your nutrition, rest, exercise, and your beatitudes, the attitudes that you have in relationships. All has a huge effect.
And these 8 pillars, we have them on our podcast. We have them on our website at the Voice of Health Radio.
Absolutely.
People can listen to those, and you're in the process of writing a book about them.
I am.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Prather. We're out of time.
All right, thank you.
The Prather practice is located at 8902 North Meridian Street on the north side of Indianapolis, just south of the I-465 loop. If we can help you to achieve better health, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with our office at 317-848-8048. That's 317-848-8048. Join us again here next week or anytime on our website at thevoiceofhealthradio.com for The Voice of Health with Dr. Robert Prather. Healthy Habits from the Prather Practice is a natural weight loss program with a proven success rate. Healthy Habits is an individualized program that is tailored to each patient's needs. Healthy Habits is not a trendy diet. The program actually resets your body's metabolism for optimal fat burning. The Healthy Habits program includes concentrated vitamins and minerals that help you to burn fat and feel more energetic. Healthy Habits provides support from a counselor and exercise physiologist in order to maximize your results and help you create new healthy habits in your life. This program even helped our own Dr. Prather to lose 24 pounds and shed 4 inches from his waist in just 12 days. Schedule your consultation with a Healthy Habits counselor at the Prather Practice at 317-848-8048. That's 317-848-8048, or on the web at thevoiceofhealthradio.com. The Prather Practice, restoring hope.